everyone. Welcome to Current Question. I'm your host, David Jackson Jr. Our topic this episode is often considered a very troubling aspect of modern political conversation. I'm referring to political polarization. You see, our stances on political issues are typically aligned with a particular political party. And it seems that this alignment has caused a profound issue lately by eroding the very notion of civility in everyday discussion. You see, we've roadblocked the exchange of ideas from one person to the other. I agree it can be a challenge to have conversations when you feel your voice is stifled or your opinions disrespected. Discussions are meant to be an exchange of ideas and information, and generally, we want to walk away from those conversations with some sort of mutual understanding. Doesn't mean we have to agree with each other, and it doesn't mean that we have to persuade the other person of our opinion. But we do want to walk away from a dialogue with some sense of a new insight while still maintaining respect. Now, I understand nowadays it seems like everyone is so invested in their own ideas or agendas that conversations end up belittling, disrespecting, or simply poking fun at other views rather than finding merit. And that's why I want to spend a little bit more time explaining how we got in this predicament and what we all really can be doing to alleviate this issue. There are quite a few causes for political polarization, and we're going to focus on the more prominent ones. Also, we're going to explore the effects that these causes have on modern society. The American Political Science Association actually reported on this topic, and they narrowed down the reasons why we're seeing an increase in political polarization. They listed 8 causes, and they placed them into 2 categories: the internal environment of Congress and the external environment. They explained how external causes were due from social, economic, and electoral shifts. The internal causes focus on how the institutions within Congress have evolved in ways that exacerbate partisan conflict. Here, we're going to dive a bit more into 3 particular points: the media environment, economic inequality, and money in politics. It seems news outlets today are more biased than ever, and they tend to target whichever crowd they feel will be most charged by their message. So rather than report the news with facts and a fair-minded viewpoint, we instead get a lot of opinionated punditry that panders to political attitudes. And I think a lot of us, quite frankly, are tired of that. We look at a recent Gallup poll to better understand the statistics behind this, and the numbers were quite staggering. 62% of the respondents said that they believed that news from radio, television, and newspaper were biased. And 80% of the respondents say the news from social media was biased. This seems to show a growing lack of trust in the accuracy and the honesty of the information we're receiving. We do want the facts, but we don't want to be told how to think. Another large dividing factor in the U.S. is economic inequality. The U.S. Census Bureau has tracked this through the Gini index, which shows there has been a persistent incline of financial inequality for Americans over the past 60+ years. The American Political Science Association paired the index with their data on polarization, and sure enough, the two go hand in hand. The association also added that policy reflects the preferences of the wealthy more often than the desires of those at the bottom rungs of the economic ladder. To step back a little bit from the graphs and the numbers, it does seem that the rich and the not so rich are living in 2 very different Americas, which would explain why so many of us simply are not seeing eye to eye when it comes to political discussions. We've already learned that policy changes tend to follow the preferences of the wealthy in this country. This is tied closely with monetary donations during the campaign process. Large portions of campaigns are funded by one-sided donors with an agenda to push. A lot of us want this to change. Pew Research Center reported that 77% of adults believe limitations should be placed on the amount of money individuals and organizations can donate in campaigns. 65% think new legislation could help reduce the role of money in politics. Overall, it seems that many of us have noticed the effects of money in politics and how it ties in with a more polarized nation. It's important to recognize that this is a problem for all of us. And that means we all have to be a part of the solution. We have to challenge ourselves to have conversations with people that hold different views. And when hearing the opposing view, try to see that argument's value and perspective. Even just doing this once a week, yes, once a week, you really can make a difference. We already know from our earlier points that there are many biased news media sources, which means we have to go the extra step to make sure that our sources are factually accurate. This might sound like a real challenge because, well, who's got time for that? Luckily, there are many fact-checking organizations out there, and we've listed them for you. Just take a look in our video description for the links. Lastly, another great way to be a part of the solution, simply get involved. There are many organizations that solely focus on bringing awareness and support for unbiased political commentary. Organizations like Better Angels, that host free workshops around the country to encourage open and depolarized dialogues. Or the National Coalition for Dialogue and Deliberation, which is building a network of resources for communities trying to have more productive conversations. And there are many others. So again, we've provided the links below. We'd like to thank you guys so much for watching. Please take this information, share it, engage with our community members, and let's all be problem solvers. This has been Current Question. I'm your host, David Jackson.